Hello, everyone, and welcome to another conversation of South Asian artists in conversation with South Asian artists. Today, we have the lovely Reuben George, and today we're going to be discussing culture and human behaviour and how it influences us as artists. And we're going to be speaking a bit about Reuben's career, including his work in both Bollywood and Marvel. So, thank you very much for joining me in conversation today, Reuben. How are you doing?
Thank you, Arthi. No, I'm good. I'm so excited to talk to you. Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. As we were talking, I feel like every kind of conversation I start is about the weather. I look out and it's
Yeah.
a bit warmer, still cloudy, but like
I
hopefully,
know. At least it's been a change in the past couple of days. Like it
yeah.
was so weird. We've been having this beautiful, like tropical weather, like really nice hot tropical weather, and then it went from tropical sun to tropical rain for 2, 3 days. So it's nice because it's like we experienced a bit of monsoon,
I
and
know. Literally, I
now
was
it's
gonna
come
say
back to
like
being nice again.
last week we were like I was in Baja sunbathing. Literally felt like I was in Spain, and this week I'm just like, how is it 15 degrees? But
I know. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just UK weather. Okay, fab. But thank you again for joining us. If you
No,
could just
thank you.
tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you firstly, Arti, for having me. Honestly, thank you for this opportunity. It's so nice to speak to you. Um, so I'm an actor. I'm an actor and a dancer. I'm a classically trained Indian dancer, so I trained in Bharatanatyam and Kathak as a
Mhm.
child.
Yeah,
I'm also a singer. I wouldn't say that I'm not a trained singer. I'm more of a
triple
bathroom
threat.
singer. I'm more of a bathroom stroke bedroom singer.
Okay,
But,
still a singer.
but
Still a
I
singer.
had to kind of, yeah, I did a little bit of training. I did a bit of
Mhm.
musical theatre training. So I used whatever skills I have of my singing in that. And yeah, so I do, I like to, it's a difficult one. I don't like to say I'm an actor, I'm a dancer, I'm a singer. I like to say that I'm a performance artist just because
Mm.
we use all our skills. That the person or the people above have given us.
Yeah,
So yeah, I try and use all of my I try and just make use of all the skills that we have. It would seem a bit redundant and a bit obsolete if we
yeah.
don't, you know,
You don't use
like
all the skills that you've been given.
yeah.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
I like to say that I'm a performance artist, but at the same time, I also run my own businesses
Okay.
in mental health and in hospitality. So, and I do a little bit of property, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh
I mean, I
wow.
do. I know
Wow.
I do have my uh, hands in loads of different cookie jars,
Yeah.
but it's fun, and also I've. It's a difficult one. I feel like that's the only way to really do it. In all honesty, I like many others at school, we learnt so many different subjects. For example,
Mm.
like from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, it's French. From 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, it's history. Then from 11 o'clock till 12, it's maths.
Yeah.
Completely different. So I feel like even as children, as kids growing up, we're conditioned to actually do more than one thing,
Yeah.
and so it only makes sense in our later life in our adult life to actually carry on doing those things, because in our formative years as kids at school we are trained to do that. So
Mm.
it seems sad that our education system kind of it hones our skills in to do one of them, and then we have to focus on one
Yeah.
skill or
Rather
one
than
course as such. Yeah. So rather than actually being able to do, kind of
branch
do
out.
everything or explore all the talents and skills that we have. So yeah, I've made sure I've tried to still keep myself doing more than one thing, just because otherwise I would get bored as well.
Yeah.
Like if I just did my business side or running a business, I would get really bored. If I just did the arts and performing, I would get bored as well. So I think it's also important for us to use the different sides of our brain as well for our
Mm.
development people as well. So
The
yeah,
creative side and academic side. And it's true because it'll be so draining just doing like one thing
yeah,
constantly. Then you'll just be someone who just does and talks about that one thing. Whereas if you've got this whole skill set, you might as well just like use
yeah,
everything that you've learned, like you said, from childhood.
absolutely. I
Um,
mean, I wasn't the most academic of students at all,
so,
like at all. But and I thought that's probably why I became more creative. But at the same time, I think it's so important for us to do all of them, either side of it. So yeah, that's why I do more. All of it,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's fantastic. And you've obviously done quite a lot of work. You've worked in Bollywood and
Yeah.
more recently. No problem, honestly. I
So
feel like just phone rings at the most inconvenient time during
I know
silence. All
people.
good.
It's just like, oh, good lord. I told them leave me alone for an hour. Out for an hour. I'm joking. Sorry.
No, and it's like you have builders outside when like you just want to take. So it's all good.
Don't even start on the building. They're literally outside right
Oh
now.
no,
They're landscaping the garden, and I've told them do not make any noise for the
no,
next hour or so. I'm on a video call.
I can't hear anything, so it's all good.
Good. So they're, they're
Um,
doing well.
yeah, but yeah, you said you've done quite. We'll start with Bollywood first, and then we'll go into
Mhm.
Marvel. You said you worked quite a lot in Bollywood, and you worked with quite a few people out there. What have been like some of your highlights of working in Bollywood, and also like the people that you've worked with as well?
Oh God, it's Bollywood has been it's been amazing, really, to be honest. It's had its ups and downs. Everything's a roller coaster, to be honest. But in general, Bollywood is I mean, the capacity that I've worked with is mainly as a dancer and choreographer sometimes, and then I have worked as an actor in a couple of independent projects. Um, it's been a lot of fun, to be honest. Each How should I say it? Each project that I've worked on has always been very, very different, which is great. The people are amazing, and their creativity is just like literally out of this world. Like for them, the sky literally is the limit. But the only downfall is, which I find, which is with all of us Asians, is the organization and the time
Yeah.
we are in. Like, oh my goodness, the number of times that we've just been sat on set waiting for an artist to turn up, or for the choreographer to turn up, or it's like that. But at the end of the day, the results are really, really good. I mean, I've been very, very lucky and very, very blessed to work with some amazing big names. And it's just so interesting for us when we grow up watching them, and now we're working with them.
Yeah.
To see their behavior and to see what they're really like is so nice. Like, I don't want to say, I shouldn't really say names. I don't want to say names, but I did a huge project, like nearly 10 years ago now, a long time ago, and it was with two major big actresses. Um, and it was for us to teach them the choreo for them to do a production here at the O2.
Mm.
So one of the actresses was lovely, really, really nice, was very professional. I would teach her the routine, the dance routine, and she would say like, "Oh, it's a little bit fast," and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'll dull it down if I'll slow it down if need be." And she was like, "No, it's fine. I'll do it your way." And the other actress was like, what the hell is this? Like, oh my God, what is this crap? And she was swearing and effing and blinding. And I was like,
Oh my
oh
god.
my God, okay. Okay. You don't even know how to even react to those things. So
Yeah.
you just have to kind of buck up and just get on with it, really. And, we had to make loads of changes, and you have to deal, it's literally dealing with that person, isn't it? It's how you manage people as well. So, that taught me a lot in terms of how the industry works, why it works the way it works, and and how the people work. So it's been a lot of fun. I've learned so many different things in this whole experience. Like, I remember one time I remember walking into an audition for it was a big production, a huge feature production. And what they were looking for was a specific type of dancers. And this is something I definitely wanted to talk to you about. Is
Mhm.
there's a misconception about non-Asian dancers in Bollywood. So
Yeah.
I've heard a lot. There's been a lot of conversations, and I've had a lot of people talk about, why are they using English dancers, and why are they using non-Indian dancers, and where are the Indians? It's you know what the truth is, it's a very difficult one. I agree that when it comes to, I think for definite, when it comes to our Indian dancing, it doesn't make sense to have a non-Indian or a
No.
non-Asian person doing it, right? It doesn't make sense. But there are situations where which I have seen and I've been in, um, where it's made sense to me why they use them. So I hope people don't, just so that I don't want people to kind of think that, but like, oh, why are they using all the English dancers? And I think firstly that we're in India. They're trying to internationalize Bollywood. They're trying to
They
make
are,
it
yeah.
so that everyone knows it. So I think the way that they're doing that is by having international figures and personas in the frame. Because then obviously, just as we have grown up watching, I like even things like Goodness Gracious Me when we were growing up. So then that's relatability for us being British Asians living here. So I think that's what they're trying to do with the rest of the world. They'll have non-Indians in there so that Western people, like people
It
in America,
attracts like a wider audience rather than just us.
exactly. Yeah, so that they can say, "Oh, look, there's one of my people in a Bollywood film. Oh, great!" And then that makes them want to, hopefully, makes them want to watch it, and or at least
Mm.
intrigues them as to like, what is this? What's going on? So that I think that's one reason. The other thing I noticed is, so when I went to an audition, and again, it was a very 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 top choreographer. They walked in and their reaction straight away, they looked around the room, they saw all of us. I think there must have been about, I'd say, 150 dancers in that room. I'll just say it's she. She kind of just looked around and then she turned around to the casting director and was like, "What the f? Where are all the white dancers? What the hell are all the Indians doing here? Blah blah." And all of us Indians are like,
And she
"What?"
said that in front of all of you.
Yeah, she said it in front of everyone. So I, obviously initial shock and initial, like, it was
For
initial shock.
sure.
And it was, yeah, it's so sad. It was so sad because this is someone that we also have we've grown
You
up
want to
watching.
work.
So and now we've got the opportunity to work with them. It's like, oh my god, amazing. And but the truth is, which is what I found out later, this choreographer had specifically requested and asked for English dancers because the actual number that they were doing was like it was Charleston. It was a Charleston number,
Oh,
so it
okay.
doesn't make sense to have Indians in that. It wouldn't be authentic to it. So I
Mm.
understand that, but we were not privy to that at the time. So all we see is this famous choreographer come in, and she's like, "Why the hell are the Indians here?" Oh, blah, blah. And we're like, everyone's really disheartened. So I realized that that's what the truth is. Like, she was looking
Mm.
for English dancers, Caucasian dancers, because it was a Charleston dance.
Yeah.
So I understood that. But what happens from that moment is the drama and the politics of, then that news gets spread somewhere else. So some of the dancers that were there will take that as something else, and the news
Mm.
gets spread. And
When you don't know
the
the
truth,
story behind why
yes,
she was involved.
yes, exactly. So and then I think, okay, this is actually how things get blown out of proportion, and
Hmm.
stories get misunderstood and misinterpreted. The truth is that casting director did not do her job. That's
Yeah.
the truth. The
Mm.
car, this choreographer would have asked this casting director, "I need 100 or 150 X amount of English dancers. So please find them to me." So when she's turned up for this audition, this casting person clearly, I think this casting person didn't have 150 white dancers on her books. So
Mm.
what she's done is she's opened it up to everyone and said, "Oh, for the sake of having that number, I'll just invite everyone to this audition." That's her mistake, because then what it's done, it's made us look bad, because the truth, yeah, the truth is
Not
that's not
your
what was
fault. It's
asked.
just, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it wasn't really even the choreographer, it's not her fault. She specifically asked for something, and she's paid this casting director to fulfill this
Find those
task, which
people.
find X amount of English dancers. And then because she wasn't able to do that, all of us were there. We were all invited to this audition, but because that's not what was required, or that's not what was asked, it there was that drama. So, but then I think you just have to realize you have to realize that that's what was asked, and that's what was required. So I don't, it's not always fair for us as Indians to always to get um, upset, let's say, when we're not put in these films, because sometimes there is a purpose, and there's a vision. I can imagine that she would have had a vision, the choreographer would have had a vision, the director would have had a vision, and obviously, and I've been, when we're on the other side of it, when we're choreographing and creating, it's again, yeah, you have a specific vision, and as artists, and we hone our craft so that our visions are quite specific. We know exactly what we want and what we don't want. So I can sympathize. I can sympathize with them. But what I don't sympathize is where you have a very traditional Indian dance, like if it's a classical or a semi-classical, even if it's like Bhangra and general Bollywood, having non-Indian dancers in there, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't it doesn't do justice to the art form, to be honest. It's not authentic it's not authentic. But again, it's that balance of they also still need to internationalize it, and just as we have integrated into British society and into British life, I think if they're trying to internationalize, then it does only make sense that they have non-Indians get used to Indian society and be a part of their society and their world. So, yeah, it works exactly. So it works both ways. So it's a really difficult one. I think if we as people and as the audience just have a bit more security and a bit more patience in what we see and what we're watching, I think it will really help everything, and all the politics and the gossip will hopefully slow down as well. I think that's what half the problem is. It's us having the power to actually spread news as well now with social media, which makes it worse. Like now we have a phone in our hands, and we can do it when and how we want.
We want to, yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, before we were the only ones reading the information. Now we're the ones that are spreading the information ourselves. Yeah. So I think that's what also makes it adds more layers and dimensions to the complications and trivializes things even more.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's you raised a really interesting point, because I guess we've all sort of seen that in Bollywood there are lots of non-Indian dancers. So I think with that you've just got to kind of go back to the root and think like, okay, there's like an intention. Why are they using these people, and what is it achieving?
right.
You think about it, it's like it's not like they don't have any South Asian dancers. They do have plenty, but you've just got to think it is technically for the greater good. It's to get that exposure and to get the West and other people outside of India watching us, so to improve representation. So even though it's not using us in the long term, it's exposing people, and you are still using us. So that's a really interesting one, and it's great that you brought that up, because I feel like a lot of people probably have the idea, why are they using all these Caucasian actors, dancers, and it's like
I mean, even the same, and actors as well. Like, why do they use Caucasian actors? Why are they using English actors or American actors? Like, why aren't they sticking to India? And why do they even have to write in English characters or Western characters? Why can't they have like an Indian character? Like, if it's sometimes they use Caucasian villains, for example, and it's like, why do we have to do that? Why can't we just stick to Indian villains? And there is normally a bit of reasoning and context within the story that they're trying to tell. So I just think as audience we have to just try and be more appreciative, as opposed to just jumping onto the negative and thinking, oh my god, why are you using? And I think also like people being stuck at home in lockdown has also made it easier to be a bit more what's the word, like a bit more picky and negative. But also that's a whole other conversation, to be honest, about lockdown.
Exactly.
I always think like the audience and even for us, we've grown up as. I mean, I like to. It's weird. I like to call it as we're performers and the rest of the world are civilians, and you don't know what it's like to step into our world as a performer sometimes.
Okay.
So I'd like to I'd like to think that, or at least tell everyone that please be more.
Open-minded and not just
Yeah,
jump straight.
open-minded.
Think a
Yeah,
little bit before. Think about the reason.
before, yeah. Of course, there are loads of things that do need to be changed. Like, I think even like just the amount of representation in even in Western cinema specifically. But I think we definitely have to be careful with what we say and how we react to things without knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And speaking of Western cinema, moving a little bit away from Bollywood to the other kind of side of the world, you've obviously done Bollywood, but more recently you've done Marvel. Now, even just saying that, it's a bit mad because there's not been many South Asians in Marvel. I think there's been like one or two. So,
Hmm.
like, my question is, how does it actually feel to be like one of the first South Asians ever in a Marvel film? And what was that experience when you found out that you were going to be in Marvel?
I I thought it was a joke. I honestly didn't think it was real. I think because sometimes when we get the casting, it will say it will as you very well know. Sometimes they'll just put an alias name because it's
Yeah.
because it was the big project. They'll put an alias name. So for us, for a long time, we just knew this project as pack lunch or snack. I think it was snack lunch or something. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. When we got there, and we figured out what it was. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. Honestly, I can't describe that in words. I have to say thank you to the Bollywood Co, Nalika, for casting us.
Shout out
So
to you.
thank you. She's amazing, and the team and Kush, they're all amazing. They're so nice. This project was definitely one of the definitely one of my more memorable ones, and we got to work with. Am I allowed to? I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
think
Maybe
they've wait.
we'll leave it.
If
We'll
it's
leave
the
it.
actor you're talking about, they've already, I think, spoken about it on their social, but
That's fine.
only if you think you can, because obviously I don't
I,
want to get you in trouble.
I'll say it. It's fine if he's already spoken about it. So we got to work with Kamal
Yeah,
Nanjiani. So
he's posted about.
yeah, even to work with him in itself to know his journey and his story is actually so inspirational. He's an actor who's came straight from Pakistan and he went to America, and he's done so well. And just to see someone go from Pakistan straight to America and develop their craft and work hard and to see where he is right now is literally it's like I think it's he's a role model for all of us, to be honest. And being on set with him, honestly, he was actually so lovely and so down to earth, and he really saw the purpose behind all of this, which was um, South Asian representation in Hollywood. He before we actually started filming and after our rehearsals and stuff, he would give us a little pep talk, and he would say, guys, this is we're literally making history here. So thank you so much, and just really really nice moments. And he really recognized and made a point to talk about this is one of the first Bollywood number. That's the best way to describe it. It's an Indian dance number, a Bollywood number with a wonderful cast of about more than I'd say 50 of us, huge cast of us, and I cannot wait for it to come out.
Massive.
It looks beautiful. Like I've seen some of the trailers and stuff have come out,
Yeah,
and
I have.
it's oh, it looks fantastic. So we're all looking for we're all looking forward to it, all of us that are in there. And even the main girl, that it was so good that they used an Indian actress as a main girl, as a lead dancer with Kumail Nanjiani. It's so nice that they use, instead of making Kumail himself the center of this piece, they used a beautiful actress, and she did a fantastic job. Nikita Chadda. She's a very, very good friend of mine.
Oh
I think
yeah,
she
Nikita.
did lovely. Yeah, she was amazing. But again, even with that, like just the fact that there is South Asian representation in a Marvel film, let alone any Hollywood film, was
Mm,
immense. And even for all of us, it really meant a lot. And when you think about it now, like you hardly ever see South Asian representation or any um, kind of Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan representation in any films. I mean, the only thing I can really think of is like Slumdog Millionaire,
mm.
Baywatch with Priyanka Chopra coming into it. Deepika Padukone did not Fast, X Triple X with Vin Diesel.
Oh yeah, yeah, she did.
Yeah, so whether she did that well, we don't know. But yeah, it's. I definitely think there needs to be more representation of South Asians, because the truth is we're everywhere. We are everywhere.
Oh,
We're everywhere. So I think it should, cinema art imitates life, and sometimes life also imitates art. So I think it's very important for that to be shown in our art and in our cinema. The dynamics of the world and the dynamics of society, and the truth is we live in London. We don't live in an English city. We live in a very multicultural,
multicultural.
diverse city, and the truth is we're a rainbow of so many colors. So it's very important for that to be represented on celluloid, I think. So
Yeah,
being able to the production of Marvel to give us this opportunity, like to give us South Asians this opportunity, is amazing. And I learned so much just being there on set and just soaking it all in. It was amazing. I there's literally I don't have enough words to describe it. It
us.
was absolutely amazing.
And I think it's such a massive step forward because it's not just one actor with one line in a Marvel film. Like you said,
Yeah,
there's over 50 dancers, which is amazing because usually when you do get that representation, it's one or two. It's like, we've got one, it's fine. But it's going
yeah,
to be so incredible that it's going to be a Bollywood number in a Marvel film. Like, when have
yeah,
we ever seen that? When have we ever seen
yeah,
so much Bollywood in Marvel? And like,
yeah.
did you feel like when you went to film it, did you feel sort of a sense of pride, or was there a lot of pressure being like, I've got to represent? Like, what was that kind of feeling, or did it just kind of surpass you?
Of course, yeah, of course. Just as any actor or dancer, you go in there with a professional headspace as it is. I think to realize, and when it really sunk in of what we're doing, that's yeah, of course, it was a huge wave of a huge wave of kind of pride hits you, and you think, wow, this is we're about to represent ourselves, our ethnicity, our identity. Um, in one of the most biggest stages. Not, I mean, obviously stages metaphorically, but stages ever. And it's so important for us to be seen so that people can see what we stand for and our culture and our beauty and our like how we carry ourselves as people. I think that people, you don't really get to see that as much as well. And it was just realizing that finally we're getting our place, and we're getting a spotlight on us, and we're getting a bit of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is we don't know how much they're actually going to use of the song. We don't, that's in production. I should really even mention what it is. It's called The Eternals, and it should be coming out at the end of this year.
Okay,
No,
fantastic.
it's really silly. I didn't even say the name of the film. I didn't even say the name of the
I know, I
film.
was going to say we're talking about it, I didn't even ask you.
Don't even know
It's
what it is.
Eternals, end
Yeah,
of this year. I think that's
yeah,
going to open up like a lot of conversations, and obviously Marvel is like watched worldwide, so it's going to
everywhere.
be
Yeah,
so much.
and more importantly, that there is actually going to be a South Asian superhero.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh my
biggest thing.
god.
Like, we have never had a South Asian superhero ever. Like,
No.
when did we? I never thought even in my lifetime I'd ever see that. So now it's phenomenal. It's literally, I can't even describe in words
Oh, it's
how happy I
lovely.
am, or to even describe this, because it's what what the purpose that this serves will, I don't even know how to describe it. Like it serves such a greater purpose for us as South Asians to give us more of a standing in society and to make us feel that we are also people. We are not just shopkeepers and doctors and
Bit
people
on the
that
side, the best
yeah, we're not on
friends.
the side. We also have our own beauty. We also have our own art, our craft, our culture. People, they know about our food, they know about Bollywood dance, but do they really know about us as people? And I mean, they won't get to really showcase too much of that. Not too much of depth is showcased, to be honest. But what they will see is grandeur and beauty, and that's what people need to see. I mean, I know there are still places in America where they don't even know, they've never even seen an Indian person's face or South Asian person's face. So, and I've been there.
Oh God.
I've been that South
And you're
Asian
just like,
who are
who
like,
are you? What are you?
yeah, they're like, who are you? What is your, like, where are you from?
Yeah,
It's
I've
like, I'm
never
from India.
seen.
I'm like, from India? I thought you were from Brazil. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll take that as well. I mean, I'm amazing. I'll take that. But now I'm from India. So, yeah, I definitely think that, yeah, definitely just needs to be more representation of our South Asians in cinema in general.
Definitely. And we're going to sort of move on to more so about culture and
Mhm.
how that influences the arts. But before we get on to that, we're going to speak a little bit about human behavior, which you
Mhm.
have said that you studied and you're just obviously quite interested in that. So I'm just going to open up that conversation to you. Like, just tell us a little bit about your knowledge of human behavior and its significance.
So human behavior has been like psychology and human behavior has been really, really important actually. I've learned even as an individual growing up, as a British Asian, um, we all have mental health. We are all on the mental health spectrum, whether it's severe or mild. We all have our own issues and our own trials and tribulations. But I think it's how we deal with it is what I've learned is a
Yeah.
huge lesson. I've been very lucky and quite very lucky actually because to have to kind of be around that and to learn about that. My dad is a psychiatrist,
Okay.
so I learned a lot about human behavior and the psyche of things. Innately, I learned that from my dad, and just we actually had nursing homes for mental health patients, and that's one of the businesses that's one of the things that we do. And in that, I really learnt a lot. I really learnt a lot about myself, about society in general, about these patients, and about mental health as well. Um, I think first thing that I'd like to acknowledge is that mental health in general has changed a lot. The concept of it, the understanding of it has really changed over the past 20 years, and more rapidly in the past 5 years to 10 years. The way people are perceiving it is completely different. It is more of a conversation, and it is opening up, and people are getting more aware, which is so important because that is what will really help change the face and the dynamics of how our society works today.
Yeah.
A little bit of compassion, a little bit of understanding
And seeing it
goes
less as a taboo and
all the
something as
way.
similar to physical health,
Yes,
which
exactly.
we need to
So
get
one
there.
of the things I realized, like I learned in in my mental health homes, my dad's homes, is that these patients, they only ever deal with doctors and nurses, and they're only dealing with the medications that they're ever taking or the therapy that they ever have to go through, and the stigma. They're always made to feel that they are mental health patients, which I think is really unfair. Because the truth is, if they had maybe a bit more nurturing, or if they had like um, certain figures growing up, maybe their life would be different. You never know. So even just for me and a lot of my occupational therapists I make sure that they sit down with them and just talk to them and have a normal conversation and just say, oh, like small, like, I mean, obviously, right now to think of what I actually spoke to them about is not gonna, I won't remember. But like small things like, oh, I love what you're wearing, or oh my God, did you see what happened with Thing yesterday? Or talking about general stuff. I think that really makes a difference in their lives because they're talking to someone who isn't just dealing with their mental health world.
Yeah.
So I think it also helps them, give them that validation to make them think that, oh, I'm not just a mental health patient, I'm a human being. And I think that's so important for all of us, in everything that we do as artists as well, to always remember that we put our art out there for people. Some people are going to like it, some people are not going to like it. But I think the main thing is to always have love and compassion. And I've learned that the hard way because these patients, for example, some of them, if they don't go through things, if they're not dealt with in the right way, and if they're not treated the right way, that will affect their psychology, and that will affect the way that they carry themselves as people. And it's so important for us, for the rest of us of society, to recognize that in people and to always have love and compassion and kind of always have an open mind in them. So I've learnt that the not the hard way, but a more of a roundabout way, in from a perspective of mental health. I mean, I myself have got, we all go through trials and tribulations, issues. Yeah. So I think it's so important. And what's more important is recognizing that there is an issue. And, some people don't want to recognize that. And that's the truth. A lot of them don't want to recognize what their problems are, or not even problems. Yeah. I mean, and the truth is they're not problems. They are
part of you. It's part of you, like a physical
yes,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah. We shouldn't ever see these things as issues, and because that's when the stigma comes in, and that's when people won't deal with it properly. It's if we feel down one day, that's okay. Like that's absolutely
normal.
okay.
It's so
That's normal. Absolutely.
It'd be weird if you wouldn't, if you were always at your 100. That will just
Exactly. So, and also I think I'm sure, as all of us know, it's so important to go through the lows for us to experience the highs. So it's been a very interesting journey, mental health, for me, because I've seen it in others and I've seen it in myself. So to actually apply what I've learned and what I've gathered over the years and apply it into my life has definitely been very, very difficult, because it's so, the truth is it's so easy for us to kind of be like, oh God, I don't want to deal with today. But actually, sometimes we just have to try and think positive and just think of our future and our goals as people and think, no, do you know what? This mood doesn't define me. This defines me. And this is what I will take moving forward. And that in itself is a journey. We've got to learn that. We've got to learn that as well. But as an actor and as a dancer and as a performer in general, I think the idea of psychology and human behavior plays a huge part in it. A huge part in it. And even when we read a script or when we're learning a piece of choreography, it's our job as performers to express those emotions. So I think it's very important, I think, for us to have an understanding of human behavior, so that we are able to enact and depict the right emotions. And also, as actors, a huge part of our work is learning about people, learning about characters, learning about how people work. So
I think why they do what they do.
Yes, why they do what they do, how they do what they do. And that's our job to kind of depict that and perform that. So I think it's very important for us to get into the psyche of those characters and to understand why it is that they do certain things, or they might have little nuances, and we bring those into our characters, don't we? So I think it's been a really interesting journey, learning and just being part of just actually working in these homes as well has made all the difference for my psychology as a person as well.
Yeah.
I've also gone, as I said, I've gone through my own trials and tribulations, as we all do, but you always have to know that, and have security in ourselves in knowing that we're okay. And some people might not like us, some people will like us, but at the end of the day,
Normal.
yeah, exactly. It's normal life, and also if people don't like us, it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's their problem, not ours. We
It's not.
don't.
You don't owe them anything. It's
Yeah.
fine.
So I think with that kind of perspective, it's definitely helped me get through a lot of the trials and tribulations that I faced in the creative industry. Because the truth is, I think this industry is based on opinions and apps. As opposed to facts, to be honest. I think there isn't. I mean, it's not like we're working in working in a lab where there's
You've
you're
got
either,
certain rules that you've all got to follow. It's like people
ours
are
is
constantly making
exactly.
decisions about you.
Yes, exactly. And ours is completely creativity based and opinion based, and so there is no right or wrong. So with that in mind, you can never go wrong. So I think it's made it easier to be more exploratory with our craft as performers. So and I think it's also very important for our. See, I always think us as a generation right now. I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, so I don't apply to today's youth at all. But I can, just saying that, I know that. I mean, I've been so lucky that I've been able to become an actor and become a dancer and get into the arts and get into the creative industry. But I know that there are so many people out there that wouldn't have been allowed to, and that's down to how our society works as British Asians and as Indians and as South Asians. Sorry, I should say South Asians. Because I can think of even like some of my older cousins and older family members who wouldn't have been able to get into the arts, and they wouldn't have been able to get into anything creative because of what our society, what our Indians, what our South Asian society says, which is become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. Yeah. I mean, my story is I like to think that I escaped. I did business. I went into business, and I studied business and did marketing as a master's, and I did all my acting and dancing and stuff. On top of all that stuff, so it was sad, but I always think for all the future generations that are coming up, fight more for what you want to do, because no one else is living in your life, no one else is living in your body. It's you, and only you know better. I'm saying this out of my own experience. Unfortunately, I wasn't given the opportunities. Like, I wasn't even allowed to choose my GCSEs and my A levels. I had to kind of, yeah, I was. I mean, of course, I can't blame my parents. That's what they know, and they were thinking,
they don't know any better. Like we spoke a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of yeah.
No, absolutely. But I mean, it's not their fault at all. It's not anyone's fault. It's what they know best, and that's what they think is best. And they've come from, and they've come from a place and a time where that's how people are. And this is the funny thing with mentality. We have a mentality now, don't we? We follow certain rules, and then that will change. And I think it's unfair to completely look at the older generation though and think like, oh my God, what are you doing? Oh, they're so backward. And no, that's not right. That's how they have been brought up. That's how things were defined for them in their time. And they've had to deal with so much as it is, the cultural differences of coming to this country. If they weren't born here, even just small things like if they had to deal with having to deal with racism. I mean, just generally the difference and indifference of being in India, being a South Asian in Britain. Like, they had to deal with it. So I think it's really unfair for us to always kind of think, oh, they're always backward, and no, they're not. They're a different school of thought. I mean, I think I grew up slightly. I grew up in the late 80s, late 80s, early 90s, or the 90s basically. So I have, my what instilled in me is a little bit of the old school um, upbringing, and I had to, but I'm living in today's millennial age, or whatever, whatever the age is today. So it was weird applying what I've learned and what I've been brought up with, and applying it to today. It was That's always been a bit of a hard thing. But I can imagine for me, it's a bit odd as it is. But I can't imagine for the people that are older than me, it would have been so much harder for them, because they wouldn't have had the same influences around them and the same environment as it is right now. Like, it's so much more tolerant now, especially within our Asian community, is what I'm saying. Back in the day, you weren't allowed to even choose your own subjects and
No,
do your own thing. You had to
go
just
by the book or follow the
yeah,
traditions, and you weren't
yes,
allowed to
exactly. And
divert.
when it comes to like then the whole topic of marriage and getting married, and that's those are huge society pressures that we as British Asians always have to deal with whilst trying to live a normal trying to live a normal life. So it's like we live one life at home and then live different
This
life
new life
outside.
in a
Yeah,
different,
and
completely different world.
it's not healthy for us, to be honest, because then that can further on in time, that can also lead to a lot of kind of mental health related problems. It can end up you can end up slowly develop into split personality, because then that's your norm. That's become your normal, to be one thing at home and one thing tomorrow. So I had to even kind of train myself to think, no, I need to be all one person, and even the person that I am at home has to be the same person I am outside of the house when I'm with friends or with the outside world, the outside world in general. Because it's like I was living not two different lives, but you come back home and you have to be all good and
Yeah.
yes, yes, Dad, yes, I'll do what
It's
you think.
just a tone down. It's like you just different versions. I think the best way to say it's like
Yeah,
different versions of yourself, like one
yeah,
like at home and then one outside kind of
yes.
thing. Yeah.
But mind you, don't get me wrong. That's also helped me as a performer, because it's helped
Yeah.
me channel those different energies and those
Different
different things. So
characters.
it's yes. So it's helped. That is something that I have applied in my in the create in work, and it's taught us to the base concept of performance. I mean, I always think with us South Asians, we are all born performers. To be honest, our culture is such that we're all at home, and then everyone's going to be scrambling about, and the minute we hear a guest come, oh my god, okay, put
That's
everything
so
out,
true. You
present
just
the
have to put
place
this whole
out.
act on.
Yes. So I always think that for us as South Asians, we're already quite conditioned, ready to be performers. So the irony is a lot of us are forced into doing sciences and being doctors and lawyers and engineers. But the actual truth is we are all inertly very much big performers. So,
We just
now,
secretly
I
don't
really
know
wish.
it.
Yeah, they just don't know. They just don't know it. I mean, they definitely know it. They definitely on the
Yeah.
inside know it. They just don't want to.
Don't want to
They
admit it.
don't want to put themselves out there. But saying that, that's what I really wish people to. That's always my kind of mission statement as a performer. Is I always want people to. It's not just, oh, I want to inspire people. That's so cliche to say, firstly. And secondly, it's about making a difference it is about making a difference for them so that they can make a difference in their life. It's not just about influencing them and kind of making them happy and making them sad and making them feel those emotions. It's actually, I think, our purpose as South Asians in the time of age that we're living in, is to actually not just influence, but to also change, like physically change people's lives for the better. Having grown up in a very like my parents were very conservative, and very reserved. So it was harder to kind of get into the arts. And as I said, my dad's a doctor, my mum was a businesswoman. She had all her businesses. So I did the good Indian thing, and worked in the family business. But the truth is, I was always pursuing my arts and my acting and my dancing. Um, but but the way that I was restricted, I guess, has definitely not helped me. And this is something I really urge, and I really want all the parents out there to always, always, always let your children blossom in what they want to do, because it's their own journey, and they will flourish because it's something that they want to do themselves. And I'm saying this from my own experience, because I wasn't able to do that, so I had to I learned the hard way. I had to do things the hard way.
To experience what you didn't want to do, to be like, right, this is not
Yeah,
what I want to do. I
yeah,
really want to
absolutely.
do
And
what I
it's
want to do.
Yes, and I always think that there's so many people, and I'm sure there are still kids out there, even today, that still will kind of be pushed into medicine and pushed into all the academic, the more academic courses, and it's actually so important for us as a society, for our arts to be so much more alive, because that's what really shapes us as people and society. Like the work that myself and you do, Arthi, is it really does shape society and how people think about us, about South Asians, about and how it affects the world in general. So I think it is really important. We need more South Asians in the arts industry. And yeah, oh my God, I completely went off on one.
No,
What I
no,
was was my mission statement. I always think like my mission statement is those kids in India as well, like those poor kids in India, if they can at least see something that they can that it can take them out of their space and think that they can go from I mean, I hope they see like all of us doing our work and think, wow, those people they're literally going from 1 to 100. I can at least go from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. Like to think like, oh, they can step out of their box and their place and become who they want. Because I mean, it's a very extreme thought, but there are so many kids, even in India, like so many poor children in India, for example, who don't even, they don't have those opportunities. We're so lucky here. Truth be
we're so
told, we are
privileged
so
to be able to be
in a
like
Western
in those
society.
opportunities, but
Yes,
exposed as well. Yeah,
yes,
exposed.
exactly. We live in London. We live in London. We literally
Mm.
live in one of the most busiest metropolitan cities in the world, and the opportunities that we have are literally limitless.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that growing up, I always want to help and at least inspire the younger generation, whether it's here or back in India. I mean, I'm sure, as people know, Bollywood itself has really gone forward, and it's really advanced itself. Probably brush over, probably past us sometimes.
Mm.
Um, it's it's the actual point of people actually coming out of their shell and coming out of the norms of old Indian society and actually doing what they want to do and not just following what they're told to
What they're
do,
told to
just
do.
for the sake of it as well. Because a lot of the time there's no understanding of the purpose. It's just we just do it for the sake of it. I don't know why, but we just do it. Yeah.
We
Okay.
just,
True.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
know why. You've got to know like the root of it to know why you're
Right.
actually doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's it goes back to saying about doing more than one thing. If you can do more than one thing, do more than one thing. Like you've got all these skills and
Resources.
all this skill set and all these capability and resources. Do it. Do the most that you can. Like I've started doing, I mean, other than all my business stuff. Sorry. Yeah. Other than all my acting and dancing, I've started doing like cabaret shows on my own, and that is again just for me. It's exploring another side of my creativity, and I think I want to grow and grow and grow and grow and do more stuff and do different types of different types of performance. It's not just art, acting and dancing. Doing everything that I can, doing a bit of singing as much as I
Just
can.
everything that
Whether I know if it's good or not, I don't know. But like,
sure is.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and it's that whole point of saying that, wow, we can do literally 10 different things, and I hope it at least helps someone else think, oh, I can do at least two, for them to just come out of their shell, if they are in their shell. So that's, I think we serve a greater purpose here, because for our future generations, I don't want them to, which I don't think is the case, because I can see the change happening already. I don't want them to think, oh, we have to, we're forced into being doctors, or we're forced into things. To just nowadays, it is completely changing. But I think the point is, the more and more South Asians that we have in the creative industry, the better it is. Firstly, because our arts from our country is so beautiful and so immense, and it speaks volumes, and it really contributes a lot to the understanding of the world. I just thinking about, like, I grew up Christian, but I always think, like, I love reading about Hinduism, I love reading about Islam, I love reading about Judaism. It's how, I guess it's your perspective on things as well. I grew up Christian, but the truth is, I don't. I think I'm more of a spiritual person.
Yeah, no, same.
All these religions have their place in this world and in our lives, and it's not right to disregard one other than the other.
No.
It's already so bad as it is, as South Asians, we're grown up being part of a group or a category or a segment, meaning, like, I'm from a certain part and I'm this sect and I'm that caste and I'm this thing. It kind of does invite a lot of segregation, because we're told and we're conditioned to stick to our own. But the truth is, now, we're Indian, we're South Asians. I keep saying Indians, pretty bad. We're South Asians living in England, so we have to be inclusive of everyone. That doesn't mean just our own people. That means everyone.
Everyone. Just want to say a massive, massive thank you for
No,
joining
thank
me in conversation.
you.
You've raised some really good points that I haven't actually seen in previous conversations. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me, Archie. Honestly, what you're doing is, this is such a good platform and such a good way to kind of bring our South Asians together, and also raise these issues, which I think is so important, because everyone's perspective and everyone's experience is different, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly.
thank you, honestly, thank you so much.